year ago. It was at the end of December last year. And we meant to be here about 2 weeks. I was actually going to just come and bring my daughter to pick her up at school in Boston and bring her on back home. And then this kind of little ritual we have, you know, where you drop them off and pick them up. It's just a little family ritual that we have. So I said, well, okay, I'll use it as a nice trip to interrupt. I had a court date on January the 6th, so I was going to be back probably around 1st or the 2nd or something like that. So in the meantime, on January the 3rd, it was an assassination by Soleimani. Soleimani is a great personality in the Islamic movement. He's a major general. He was the most instrumental person in anti-Daesh, anti-ISIS, in breaking up the control of or the Saudi movement to disturb the Islamic movement, to use up all of its energy in fighting each other. Qasem Soleimani had done such a good job in Syria and throughout the Middle East. The Saudis would just say, someone invited him to come to Iraq to play a role in mediation. So one of the other very important people was Aga Muhandis. He had a big role, and these two personalities had a big role in fighting against Saudi oppression. Now, we had been talking about the great role that we had talked about Najaf and Karbala, especially for a few years, and that it had a special meaning. But the people participating in it didn't have a real clear idea what was going on. When this happened, the aftermath, the millions of people in Tehran, millions of people coming out, the Iraqi flag, the Iranian flag over the two bodies. At Najaf and Karbala itself, this is the first place those two martyrs were taken. And it's as if the great unification, the most hated thing in that part of the world was the unification of Iraq and Iran. And this produced it in spades. Of course, they've been working together all the time. The U.S. Went there to cause trouble in 2003 and in 1991, and they failed totally in their whole attempt. But for us, we said, this is what it's meant. This means the unification of the Muslims. This also means that everything that those great personalities was working toward, their martyrdom placed them in a position to receive it. It's like their martyrdom was a gift to humanity, and that the gift from Allah was everything they've been working for. That's what it was. So this happened on the 3rd, so I stayed and then explained this to people. Then the virus come through and other things. So it kept extending on and on and on. And now we'll be returning to Oakland. But it's not just it happens. I could have returned quite a while ago, but I got a call yesterday from an old friend of mine, which I get a call from time to time. And I'd asked him before, how was the air quality there, and how was this and how was that? And the last time he called, he said, man, the smoke is unbelievable, unbearable, and the air quality, and the fires are still burning. So I said, okay. Yesterday the call, he said, well, we're expecting a lot of wind. He said, and we expect rain within the next few days. I said, good. Then I'm headed back. I wasn't going back there to breathe all that, I mean, when you're young, you can suck in all that stuff. But as you mature, who wants to breathe in all of that for no reason, And then the rain is coming. That means in California, that means the wet season is starting, and so the land will turn green again. Yeah, in California, here it's turning dry. When you drive from here, when you go all the way to Nevada and you go over the mountains into the Sacramento Valley in California, from here for 3,000 miles, 2,000 something miles, 900 miles, 2,800 miles, going that way, it's all gray and brown and ugly. But when you hit that Sacramento Valley, it turns green, all in, because the weather is different there. They have two seasons, a wet season and a dry season. The wet season, California, is green all throughout December, January, February, March, April. May starts browning. June is brown. July is big fire season. So I'm getting like a migratory bird, I guess. I'm just flying different places to choose the good weather. So I don't like that weather. I'm coming. When it gets a certain way, back in California, I'll come out here and enjoy this weather. But anyway, so I'm headed to California. But this is also the 50th anniversary. Well, technically it's the 49th anniversary. On January the 1st, 1972, I was in Europe. I left here in 1971 from all the cases all the things that was going on in the U.S. The days of the Great Oakland experiment was ended. The Black Economic Enterprise Zone, the government had moved in, and it was looking pretty, it was still on the roll, but I wasn't the one motivating it at that time. Right? So I have something that says that I always evolved at the right time. So it's a reason that we're here now. Of course, the main reason, 99.8%, is that Allah wants us here. And then the little itsy bitsy piece that He give you to manage your own affairs, your own paradise, or your own, that you get a little corner. Yeah, Allah don't make you do nothing, but that little part that's where you make the decision, which is just a little pinch. Well, every time something came up, I wrote right here, I evolved to power slowly, but I evolved at the proper time. When this January First, 1972, I was in Germany at that time. I came from East Africa. I'd been on a nice trip, just looking. I'd been in Algeria, and I did a nice several months research period. I had also helped the movement as much as I could in resources. So now I said that I'm making a comeback. That's the way niggas talk. So yeah, I'm making a comeback. So I said the day I'm gonna do it, and I bought my ticket from Denmark, stopped over in France, then on to here. Well, on to over here. I was shocked a little because the flight was supposed to go to Mexico City from Paris, France. Well, actually, I was listening on the thing, and they said, well, now we're going to land in Houston. I said, oh, my goodness. Because, but it was transit. They wasn't going to check passport. They wasn't going to do anything. But it was quite an experience. I said, man, I'm landing in the United States, where I said I didn't want to be. But I looked at the map, but remember the world map is flat that you have. It's not a globe. So when I drew a line from Paris to Mexico City, it went right across the Caribbean and straight into Mexico City. But they fly, the earth is not round, it's like a pear. So it's shorter, like you see people come in and some face that way for prayer, some face this way. Okay. That way is the shortest. That's the way they fly. They fly over the top of the earth, over the Arctic and all of that. They fly up over that, and then they fly down. That's shorter than flying around. Because remember, at the top is smaller, and at the bottom is bigger. Remember, the earth is not round. It's more like a pear. Not a real pear, like, it's just a little piece in it, but kind of like that. That's right. So anyway, so if you fly in, a lot of times they just fly over the top, which is shorter, and fly right down. So now me a dummy, I'm thinking the world is round, so I just draw a line, or take the ruler. I said, oh, Paris to Mexico City, and I just go zoop. I said, oh, good. We'll fly over this, we'll fly over that. We didn't fly over that. We flew right over the top. So I was looking down and said, man, looks like snow is freezing down there. And anyway, but then we went on to Mexico City. That was a big difference. When I came back on this side, I had nothing but a little handbag. When I left, I must have had 10 pair of shoes, 20 or 30 suits. I had boxes of mink hats and clothes. But I've studied something when I came back. When you're making a comeback, you strip down. I'm telling you that since then, I've lived like I live now. When I left, I had all that material. When I came back on this side, I didn't have nothing but a handbag. That's all I had. And I left all those European clothes in Europe. I left everything in Europe where it belonged. And the stuff that I had here is European, so I left it. I've never regretted it, including the way sleep and everywhere, all of that is the same as in South America. that when you get mission orientated, you don't fluff yourself up with all of this so-called comforts. You know what I mean? Unnecessary comforts. So anyway, I came back on this side with the idea of making a comeback, and that's exactly what I did. I made a comeback. I met a friend in Mexico City. We went up to a certain place, did a certain thing, and he came on back to California, and I came on over the other side, did a little something, and went on down to South America. And after going to Peru and just enjoying. It was a little strange because, see, everything you're doing now is different than your whole environment is different. You're not in the United States anymore. You're in other parts of the world, and they speak different languages. The weighing system is different. The measurements is different. They use kilometers and not miles, and they use all kind of new stuff, and you have to get used to that, including the language. So, long story short, I went down to South America, and I went around till I hit the spot of what was good. And it was a comeback. It was strange because everybody was saying, well, Big Hank then left, and Big Hank is like everybody else. We won't hear of him no more. He's gone, He'll probably get caught over somewhere by Interpol and, brought back to the U.S. and rot in prison. That was what people thought. Some people made long tapes about, believe it or not, about the influence that had happened. That was all such a shock that happened to everybody while we was there in Oakland during those last 5-6 years, from 1966 to 1971 was a long time. Right now, it ain't nothing. 5 years, it's not nothing. You can see some of the things I got. Some of the notes right here is from, what does it say right there? 5406. Shoot, that's 14 years ago. That's 14 years ago. To me, those are just notes from that time. And, but in those days, 5 years, well, plus you're younger. And so 5 years, like, from the time you're 10 years old to the time you're 15, is a big jump. You look different, you sound different, right? It's a big deal. And the same thing with from late teens up into the 20s. But anyway, that's why I like that saying from one of the brothers, a setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. And in those days, we were, Muhammad Ali, 71, had just made a comeback. Many of the great fighters made little comebacks. The game produced, people would go down and then they would try to come back, and a few would make it, but most wouldn't. So we was used to the idea of comebacks. Would you push just a little, push it up just a little bit of heat to kick on. You got the one on the right. There you go. There you go. Okay, so anyway, when we go back to Oakland, this is a comeback for us. Now, but it's more than a comeback. It is the culmination of a whole great period, because before we didn't have that much control over our environment. This time, when we go back to Oakland, we're going back to an environment that we manipulated. We developed that environment in Oakland. It didn't just happen. Okay, if you look at everything, okay, most of the people will look at this and say, oh, that's terrible. That's not terrible. That's good. When I would be in Oakland, I would talk to Brother Tufel almost every night. And I would talk to him about the spiritual development and all of that stuff, because those encounters were causing rapid development. Remember, if you get in a game that's accelerating very quickly, you got to accelerate with the game. And so if you put yourself in a game, everybody in the game may not be accelerating, but you have to, because the pressure is on you. See, the people putting pressure on you, they may not develop at all. But the pressure that they put on you, you have to develop. What was the main development here? This is an unjustified attack on an innocent man who haven't done nothing to nobody. But the direction and the order that comes out of this is the direction and order that we practice. And we had to go through it to be an example to show people. Number one, never fight anyone but the one that you're supposed to fight. We're dealing with the system. We don't deal with pawns that they throw out. Right? The people, you could see them, they're pawns. It would be insanity. What happens? Does everybody do that? Yes, everybody does that. All the Negroes. If you bring gang member X, gang member Y, and they get to messing with you, you're going to respond to them directly, not the system that sent them. That's why we don't get nowhere. We don't get nowhere. That was the thing that had to happen. That was one of the main things that had to happen. If it would have happened 10, 15 years ago, then we would have responded. Everybody was saying, Dad, you said this, and you said, I said, that was then. But when the people would come, you would do this and that. I said, that was then. That was then. That ain't now. So, in order to be example, okay, I'm going to say what we are is we are a modern example of what has to be done, what can be done, and what should be done. And by who? By us. So we are a modern living example. Like if Martin Luther King was an example of nonviolence. Well, we are a modern example of nonviolence because we did not respond at all in the way that they expected.
Even when you had people approaching you?
No, everybody, no, it's not everybody. Look, if we wanted to do something,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
if we wanted to do something, there's no like, oh, I got to go find somebody to do this. No, it's not. No.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Not only that, the government had the people there ready to do it.
Right, yeah.
So, like, if it's like 8 groups ready to do something, 5 of them are the government groups. 3 of them would be mine. All they want is you to do it. And everybody is encouraging you to follow that principle. That's not the principle. What I'm telling you is our Daesh It's right there. That's who our Daesh is. That's who our ISIL is. Those people. We whooped their behind by neutralizing them. You see that everybody is chasing us, trying to get us and just looking idiotic, stupid, and every other kind of thing, trying to influence our behavior. That means that they cannot influence our behavior. They have not been able to influence our behavior. They have lost, hands down. We have won this section, these periods, without even batting an eye. We have won. They have, and you got to remember when I say they, that means all of they. It ain't just the fools. I'm not the fools. They're not fools. They just need help. Those people failed. Abdul Malik them failed miserably. The people here, monitors, failed. I mean, it is a visible disaster. Everybody failed. That has not happened in United States history. No. Okay, just pick anybody out of the box. Pick Martin Luther King, pick Malcolm, pick anybody you can. The government didn't fail on them. The government was a success. The government was a success even on King, because King was despondent in his last years. He was despondent. He was sad. He was sad. He was sad because the numbers and the people, when you have that many people giving you adulation and cooperating with you, you know you're going to get something done. Okay, when you don't get nothing done, you're sad. For us, it's different. We are not newspaper Negroes. Out of all the groups and all the movements, there's no one in the United States or outside of the United States that have contributed more to the black movement and the Islamic movement in America. Nobody has, not even close, not even close. The New York blah, blah, blah people, no. CARE, no. The people down in Texas, no. The African American groups, movements, and organizations, no. The Islamic organizations out there that have, last number was 28 satellites. With people stumbling, well, when they start back Eids, the people are collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars at Eid, and they haven't done nothing. And everybody know they haven't done nothing, right? We've had more influence, let me see, because I wrote something down here. Yes, on page 1, where it says 5406. Counterattack, what it has, depend on Allah. What I deal with is a pleasure. Then I skip down, ask forgiveness for mentioning self. In other words, these are all notes to myself. So I'm aware that I'm going through a period I'm talking about myself. Why? Hell, I ain't nobody else to talk about. And if I said anything different, it wouldn't be the truth, right? So I'm just asking Allah for forgiveness. And the community, when they would finally read it, which is now, for mentioning self. And also compensate for sensitivity. Compensate for paranoia. Paranoia. I have sensitivity right here, so I have to compensate. This is self-management, this is directing your own self. That's what this stuff is. I have to compensate. Sensitivity, paranoia runs people crazy. So I have to compensate. See, I've done all this stuff before. This is 14 years ago. By that time, I'm a super veteran. I mean, it's child's play by then. Yeah, it's child's play 14 years ago, it's child's play. There's no surprises at all. So I'm saying, I'm writing messages to myself, what I have to do, compensate for sensitivity. And I have in parentheses, paranoia, right? The rules are, you're not going to have any friends, you're not going to have any this, you're not going to have any that. And the rules are this, is that any and everybody around you are going to be government agents, which it proves that's the way it is. That's the way it's been. The masjid be full of people. We have, I don't know how many groups and zillions of people. And then they're gone. Boop. Okay, you got to be ready for all of that. Why? Because you know that's what they're going to do. Why? Because that's what they think is going to be effective. And they think, oh, you're going to be sad. You're going to be very popular, and everybody's going to listen to you, and Allahu Akbar and everything, and then ain't nobody going to listen to you. They're going to walk away. I'll just be standing right there waving. See y'all later. Thank you very much. Strategic management under conditions of repression. What does that mean? This is maybe 2008, something like that. That's a long time ago. That's 12 years ago. That means I have to make use. Strategic management under conditions of repression. We're not doing, well, we do some of that now, but that's not the period for that. That was then. Strategic management under conditions of repression. How are we going to manage all of this stuff? By that time, school here, school in California, acquisition of property, going over here, going over there, and all of a sudden, boop, nothing. And at the same time, they're making the people that are right next to you, they're flattering them, and they're the ones that, and of course, but you're not going to say, oh, you guys are like teenagers, you can smell the milk on your breath. How you going to be a champion? You never had a fight. You write that down, but you don't ever say that to nobody. You say you guys are children. Why are they children? The proof is they can't produce nothing. They can't make you do nothing. This is the thing. They just now look at it. You have to visualize that the whole system is focused on you. You know it. That's why we write compensate for sensitivity. That means you have to compensate. You might even go overboard. You might be extra friendly and extra kind because you know who they are. So you have to do things, kindness so much that they might think you're stupid. That's part of the trick too. That's part of it. You got to be able, in order to do this stuff the way we do it, you have to be able to be laughed at, made fun of. You can't be like you got to sit there and everybody's laughing and everybody's on the same team. You got to be able to go in a meeting and everybody's on the same team. And everybody's going to talk right around you, and you just have to sit there. And they do that. They might do that all the time. Right? They might, if we have a meeting here, right back there, for manna, they may talk all around you, and just because it's our masjid and everything, you might think you get a chance to talk. They talk right around. Okay? And there's people here right now that know that we invite here for people for a big program. and the toilets overflow. They don't overflow, and they ain't overflowed in 15 years, but they overflowed in. And then you go down there, and then there's a, you know, where they have those 20-ounce Coke bottles, plastic Coke bottles. So all of a sudden, you keep pumping, and one of them backs up, is cut, the top is cut, and at first with the little hole in it, you know, a little water goes through, but then it blocks up, and you keep pumping. Pretty soon, right down there in that sink, it pops up. So you know somebody put that in there, and it's okay. But that's what they do. So that's why we have what we have for sensitivity. But we have ask forgiveness for mentioning self. Survivor, 67, 1970, 1973, right? Explain how it strengthens your faith. So, we didn't give it a chance to explain it then, but we're explaining it now. All of that stuff strengthens your faith. Because if you're on a 100-story building and you just jump off and you just float somewhere and you land, right? You couldn't do that. And you don't know nobody could do that, right? Only Allah could have your behind floating around and zoop, and you land like in a bed of roses, it's smelling good, looking good, right? You know, that's what I mean by strengthens your faith. Everything that they've done throughout the years strengthens the faith. It don't weaken the faith. It strengthens the faith. The people that have maybe short-sightedness or what have you, they might lose focus on what's really going on, and it may cause their faith to dwindle a little. I have down here what this process would produce in a normal individual. What this stuff would produce in a normal person, right? Of course, they would run, nobody would get anywhere close. I mean, you got to remember, I'm watching this. I'm telling you that I'm studying the historical movement. You could tell by the way we talk that we have some familiarity with history. That don't mean we're going to say, well, Malcolm couldn't do this and King couldn't do that. No, but you still have to compare, like compare prices. Well, you know, okay, how much that, just the same car, same Volvo, it's on this lot, what did it cost over there? You got to compare prices.
You know, like any athlete, you're going to look at the records.
No doubt about it. That's the key. You have to study the records. What type of race am I in? What do I have to do to get up to par? What's the training routine, right? How long is this race? How long am I going to be in this race? We always talk about longevity. Longevity means, a long time. Other people, you can think about brownouts and blackouts. 4 or 5 years, you look at the people, say on campus, they're full of juice, whether it's Nicaragua, whether it's Palestine, they're full of juice, right? But when they get ready to come out and get a job, that stuff starts fading behind. They're full of resumes, they're getting right, they got to get a job now. All of that freedom and love and stuff, now you got to work, right? This is common on any campus, you go there. So it's common in the movement too, like people have a shelf life. Some people struggle for 5 years. Some people try it for 2 years. Some really that's doing a good job, they may make it 10 or 12 years. Then after that, they start settling down. They don't say I quit, but their behavior shows. You know what I mean? It shows in their behavior. And if they're not studying themselves, they either won't see it or don't want to see it. But they won't face the challenges. We have friends that they could approach certain things in a certain way. They wouldn't approach it. Why? Because the people did them wrong, and they might have left them hungry, might have left their wife and family, you know. They didn't help them. Because in college, rah, 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 the team spirit. But if you come out of prison, you already know. Whatever you do, you're going to be there by yourself. Because after the riot, they're going to go find out who's the one leading that. They're going to gaffle them up and send them off to wherever they send people, right? That's what they do. So you already, if you've been in that environment, you already know. I'm telling you, we used to go to, the old name was Defirmary Park. It's now Bobby Hutton Park. And elders and them would be speaking, power to the people, and I would tell my crew, we would be there. I said, I hope they don't think the people going to be with them when the white man come. We would just say that. When the white man come, people are going to be gone. That's just, those are the rules. It's not, you always look around. You could be a part of a union and your job is to stand up to the bosses, and you stand up and say, and you look around, and isn't that right, fellas? They look all up in the air. So then you're the one that made the commitment. That's the rules of life. You can't get mad at human beings for being human beings. That's what I told my son. I said, if you kill every nigga for being a nigga, you're gonna kill everybody, because everybody's niggas. White folks is niggas, they all niggas. Right? Arab niggas, everybody's just niggas. Human beings, right? You can't stop I say you cannot stop people from, you have to love humanity, but you have to look out for yourself too. You have to. If you don't, you can't offer nobody, you can't give nobody something that you don't have. So you have to have self-leadership before you can have group leadership. You have to be able to lead yourself. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay. So let's see. Right down at the bottom, we have better play with someone your own size. Okay. Reissue call to bigness. This is a language of big niggas and little niggas. It's just a language. It's not, you don't say you're a little nigga and I'm a big, you don't say that. But there are people who are big. What make them big? Ethics. That's it. Vision, ethics, and all that stuff make people big. No ethics, no vision, no nothing, just getting a little something for yourself, you're going to be little. That's what make people, ethics and morals. That's what make people big. Big. In the game even. They had people that started out at a certain level and they evolved. They became big. They surprised a lot of people. They became like what you used to call big niggas. They got big because when the time came, they acted big. And they didn't buckle. It took 5 or 10 years for the system to break them down and to turn them into tattletales and stuff. But they stuck. They went to the prison house and they was big. Okay, the system chews people up and spits them out. Like right now, when we go back to California, technically I'm going to help all my family and most of my friends when we get whatever we get from the government. And that's what I'm going back to do. I'm going back now to institute or to benefit from everything we've arranged. We have not been on anybody's time schedule. That's why I say we came here almost a year ago. I was going to go back in January. Just stayed because we're not on their schedule. Do you know how big that is? That can't nobody make you do nothing in no time? That is big. That means you have, hey man, imagine how people would feel if they had all of their time to do what they wanted to do. I mean, I realized that I was going with one of my friends, driving across the bay, you know. In fact, we went 3 bridges ride. We went to Bay Bridge, Golden Gate Bridge, San Rafael Bridge. And so he looked at me, he said, do you do this every day? And I said, yeah, I do this stuff. In other words, you have time. He worked at Sherman and Williams, a paint company. And for some reason, he got off that day. He went to the dentist or the doctor, or he had to train for a fight, something like that. Do you do this every day? To him, going across the bridge and seeing the beautiful buildings, do you do this all the time? I said, yeah, I do. I thought about it. I said, yeah, I do this stuff all the time. Sometimes it's the white folks in Golden Gate Park. You've seen pictures. I go there and I hang out with the white folks. Why? Because they're human beings and they got stuff going on, right? And you got to be there. All their hair hanging down and they got flowers all over the place. You got to figure out. The other Negroes didn't, but I did. I had to figure out, I wanted to know, what are you thinking about? What are you doing? What's your hopes and dreams? Why? Because you're human beings. And a lot of people, they're not interested in, they're only interested in what they're doing, right? And so today, this is just wonderful. It's not only this means that nobody could influence us on what to do. And I try to explain to my friends what this stuff means, but they don't get it right now. They don't get it. They don't get just, you know, in a different language and what the hell is it talking about? They don't get it. But I'm going to explain to them. In fact, I'm going to give them this CD and some of the other DVD, whatever it is, to explain to my friends what environment we're in. And the difference between what they're thinking about 50 years ago and how big that was. And they can't see what that's why I stopped being around them, because a few years ago, we was getting in an arena that they wasn't going to understand. They wasn't going to understand this. To this day, I knew they wasn't going to understand it, because they was telling me, we ought to do this. If they go to the Nation of Islam, they was talking about Khadijah, and they search them down, they do this, you know what I mean? And they was just giving their advice based on. So I knew that they wasn't in the trend. I have to try to educate them now on what's going on. They don't know that anybody from their neighborhood could be farther in advance than anybody they see on TV. Any analyst, right? News commentator, any old time. They had Sam Donaldson on before his neck was thick. I said, those people, they don't know. It's not arrogance. They don't know anything. And they're not, what they find out, they don't have the ability or wherewithal. They don't have the moral fabric to speak about it, because they work for Rupert Murdoch or somebody, right? They're not gonna, you can't say those things. You can't teach the people, right? And the people don't even believe that you got a snowball's chance in hell to deal with the system. Well, that's what we're going to teach them. That's what we've already done. That's already done, right? That's already done. This stuff right here, this stuff is done. And for modern policing and everything, this is wonderful, wonderful. You're talking about modern, you're talking about, right up to date, the police and the tattletales standing right there. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And here's the masjid. You can see if you look hard back there, the sign in Arabic, Masjid al-Islam. Past, present, and future is up to date. Right? When they talk about what imam do they have being handcuffed, half naked, being thrown in a police car? That means I'm an expert on this. Why? The amount of times I ran that race, 50 times. I was arrested in that spot 8 times with the doggone deed in my hand. Right? This is absolute. Someone has to educate the white folks. Like they got white folks running around, and you mention 16, 19 to something or other, they say, no, we're going to, what is Trump saying? He was saying some dumb stuff like America, America. Well, they don't actually know. A lot of Americans, they think we're making this up, although they see the man getting brutalized, right? Okay, you need a live specimen to go over it and over it and over it. See, not only this, but remember from 1971, remember the stacks of stuff where the police tried to hide that, you don't have no arrest record, hardly, you just wanted to arrest. And I got the stacks of paper. I went to the bail bondsman. Sure, I said, yeah, he just subpoenaed his records. And the thing is, you see it before? Unbelievable, right? Okay, all that's for a reason. That is for a reason. So, this comeback, people talk about Saudi Arabia. I didn't even mean that. No, that was here. This is you can tell, boy, I was a teenager almost then. Black beard, not a script. That mean I had a Hajj visa. Maybe that was 87 or 88. Hajj visa. But they sent it back to me when it's too late to go to Hajj. And then actually, when I looked at the news, I was glad because they was killing people at Hajj in 87 and then in 80. Hey, man, I said, hey, shoot, thank y'all very much. Just like I had an invitation from Sheikh Raad in Palestine. This was for September the 15th, 2000 something or other. That means 2001. That means I would have left here to get there at a certain time. Well, I didn't go. I didn't go because I was not going to fly anywhere where I have to fly into Israeli territory. And Israelis can just say, come on here, nigga. And they could have you boiled in oil. They can do anything they want because, right? They do that. So I said, hey, shoot, I ain't going. And then all of a sudden 9/11 happened. And I would have been over there for I don't know how long. They might have tried to blame it on me, right? I'm just saying, this thing about a comeback is arranged so that we can give the people a live model of possibilities, what can be done. This stuff is not made up, it's real. The The people don't even think about it. Can you imagine that our burden is try to bring the people up to speed on worldwide events? And we have to have so much extra credibility. I'm not going to cry about it, but because we're black. You can't know anything. My friends, they think something is going on, but it ain't what's really going on. You know what I mean? Because they cannot picture. They can't picture. Even the family, nobody can picture that you got more sense than all the white folks that they see on TV and all of the other. And you forecast, this is what's going to happen. That's right, tell the truth. 1, 2, 3, da-da-da-da-da, and it all happens just like that. And they don't have nobody to do that. If we was calling horse races, we could just get rich. We just said this horse going to win, right? We could handicap if it was horse racing, right? Or if it was dog race, right? We'd just get rich. We said this one's going to win, that one's going to win, right? That's what's going to happen. And, that one's going to act like he's going to win, but he ain't going to win. And that one act like he's going to lose, but he's going to win. And all the little extras. So that's why we call this a comeback. This period is technically a comeback. Not that anything happened like in the 70s or what it was, but this is a period, a design period. This didn't just happen. It didn't just float this way. It's what we produced. Okay. The next page up there, anticipation, longevity, endurance, survival. Ability, stickability, focus, bounceability, the ability to bounce back. Right there it also has, in quick scribble, 2 assassination attempts, 1970. And it was too. I'm telling them right in the same thing I think it was in the transcript I said, what y'all talking about? Old Sergeant Sansucci and them did this. And then I actually have other sheriffs, that I called for trial in L.A. And Officer Dillard. Officer Dillard was a nice white guy, young white guy. And he was just a sheriff, but he wasn't like, when I'd see him out in the street, hey, and then when I'd go be out on the county jail, it just, gravy train type stuff. But, so I had him come down to L.A. for my federal trial, and when they questioned, the Fed said, the federal U.S. attorney said, well, whatever they did in Oakland, it didn't have anything to do with us. In other words, he didn't just told them, yeah, man, he was on my crew. The sergeant came out with a pistol on and took him off the crew in a minimum security and took him to maximum security. When he was in maximum security, they tried to run their game. And it's the most famous case in California. Everybody knows it. You know what I mean? Everybody, they talk about it. Yeah, man, they tried to move on the brother. Big Hank and Iceman, fought off the white boys, and they tried to do this. And my son was telling me about it. I said, man, I forgot about that. Some of the stuff that he was telling me I had forgot about. So he had heard it from everybody else. You see what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is, all of this stuff that we got, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and it's bigger, and this is what longevity is about. This is what tolerance is about. This is what stickability is about. This is the ability to hold on through all of those years because you got at the back of your mind and you're hoping that there's a good reason for it. Now, in all of these notes, we clearly, moral imagination, there's another one on the second page. Always changed at the right time. I don't know, it's right under 2 assassination attempts, 1970. It says, always changed at the right time. And then you could tell it means history, banned in UK. What does that mean? Everybody in the movement, and we're studying the movement, they didn't change at the time. We can know people that we know, right? They did not change at the right time. They would not change. And if you ask them, help people to understand the COINTEL program, they wouldn't mention it. They just tell you, go pray, fast, right? In those words, they would, exactly, and they would, and the same thing that they could have helped people learn is the same thing that they used on them to finish them off. Okay. Moral imagination. But the de-Israelization, Mexico, disruption skills. Nolan King down at the right. Well, we'll skip over that a little bit. The next page deals with here. Write up structure, job description. Imam, Brother Tufail. Amir, Brother Furqan. Wazir, Jalil, Wazir of Media. Ahmed. You know, those people came through here the other day. You remember people used to take all the pictures, Ahmed and them, they did a good job. But where are they at now? You know, you come here for prayer, and the same people that was coming here strapped for prayer, and when they had the people, when they arranged a little attack supposed to be on my grandson, and the nigga that was with him, 19-year-old, well, I had to do it because the little brother, and that stuff on the hill with them Negroes, I said, absolutely not. And the Negroes that come in here with guns ready to go deal with them niggas, when it's time to do something for real, they fly away. They fly away. That's why I said we will never fight no other niggas. We just don't do it. I don't care whether it's gang warfare. I don't care what it is. We have to stay focused on boss man, right? And that's what we focus on right now. And that's why he's upset. And look, nobody else in this country is doing that. They're just not doing it. Okay, so we have to educate people on the whole thing. We have to, that's return to Oakland, mean that when we go back to Oakland, just imagine the picture. That means all the stuff that we've shown, all that stuff that we have to deal with, right? Not have to deal with, we want to deal with it. We set them up, they ain't set us up. Can you imagine? We set them up. We arranged for them to do. It's like design fitna, we called it. But design fitna, by the time we wrote about it in 2011, was years old. We was already doing it. In fact, everything we tell them, we almost finished it. Why do we tell them what we're doing? Near the end, because we have to improve at our own rate of improvement, not at theirs. So we have to tell them what we just did. Boss man, we just slapped you in the mouth. Why? So he can get something together. Because he gets something together, you'll have to improve. You can make him tighten his game up. You have to. Why? Because look at the game now. Look at the world that it is right this minute, right? It's moving. If we wasn't moving at the rate we're moving, we would be behind. We would be sitting there with everybody else. Right? We would be sitting there trying to figure it out. We're not trying to figure out nothing. We're explaining to the people. That's what we have to do, is they have to understand that niggas know what they're talking about. Right? That's the hurdle. Higher than white folks. You know why? None of our people have ever challenged the system. They just don't do it. All of the big gangsters that was with me, they would challenge each other, but they never even thought about challenging the system. They don't even think about it, right? So I have to explain to them. When I go back, they have. So if you say, well, this is the president of Iran, right? Da 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 da. And this is the Negro. That means such a thing, right? We have to tell them what it means. We have to explain to them what it means. We have to get them, this is the Rahbar. We have to tell them, this is the Rahbar. You know who that is? White folks can't even meet him, right? You have to tell them that this is the Negro, right? And they see it. One of my friends said, I got an Afghani friend, and I showed him the picture on the phone. He said Madeleine Albright couldn't even talk to them. That's all he knows. But he don't know what it means, right? They don't know what the front page of the political newspaper in a foreign country means. They don't know, right? And then, you know, the little detailed stuff, the little headline here, the little headline, what does that mean? It's telling them what they have to do to get themselves together. That's all. You see what I mean? Black lives matter, Negro lives matter. The police in front of our masjid in Oakland, just imagine. And they taking me to jail. I'm coming out of the shower. Technically, I wasn't showering. I was taking an enema to clean out. You can see I'm half naked. They don't get it barefooted. They don't give you a chance to put on nothing. But that's the news today. You see what I mean? That's the expert news. We don't have to listen to what nobody say downtown. When we tell them this is what's going on in America, this is what's going on in America. And remember, what was that we was dealing with last? Oh, yeah. This right here. Declaration of Independence. Remember the part where Thomas Jefferson is talking about the issue of slavery and how cruel it is for a Christian king to bring people over here, da, 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 da. And then to get those people, because the British was trying to get the Negroes to rise up against, right, them, George Washington and all of them. You can't imagine that they got a book called the Book of Negroes. Did y'all see that on your thing? The Book of Negroes. Yeah, it's the Book of Negroes. Don't nobody know it.
Now, I did look it up, and what I did discover was even the British, we didn't even get what we were supposed to get from the British.
Of course not. The white folks, they're going to...
They promised us stuff, but we...
Hey, man. They sent a few Negroes to Canada, then sent a few down to the islands, and that's about it. Yeah. No, no, boss man, huh? Man, the white man speaks with a forked tongue. Hey, man. Hey, man. So anyway, The point is that we got a mission here. And right now, our mission is off and rolling. So when we go back to California, we cranking right in, right where we want to start. And all this stuff about the 13th Amendment and all of that, we've already told them that. We just brought this stuff to remind us. And remember, the paperwork we had from the other day, what was it about? Slave patrols, right? Slave patrols. Slave Fugitive Act, that's right here. That's what it's all about. Policing. Policing is still about slave patrols, controlling black people. It's exactly the same. They created it for that. And so that means people, you're wasting your time talking about freedom and all of that stuff. This is a new world we're talking about. You know, in this new world, it's not that old getting to the promised land. That place don't exist. The promised land is right where you are right now. To remake this thing, right? To restructure, reorganize. And this is what people got to develop, is a vision of what true life is all about. You know, and that the human being can do it. It's about the evolution of the human being. It's not about, well, we're going to get to the promised land. The promised land, you must be crazy. That they're talking about a place instead of a condition. When you get to that place, everything is going to be all right. Technically, that's heaven. On this earth, you know, the Quran tells you to migrate if you can't, you know, But the world is packed up now. You can't migrate where you want to go. They got a border patrol. They got it right. Yeah. If you think I'm lying, go down there to Texas and California and look at the fence to keep people out. If they want to take care of people and keep people from wanting to come in here, all they got to do is send several $1 billion down to Central America. And the people will get their own money, and they won't want to come up here because they'd rather stay in their own country. But the government here takes all the money from down there, all the bananas, Chiquita bananas, everything, United Fruit Company, they take everything from down there and bring it up here, so the people got to follow the food, right? They got to eat, so they come up here. All they got to do is do like they did the Marshall Plan. They want to keep the Germans in Germany, go over there and help them get big. In fact, they had a program, it was about natural leadership after World War II. They looked at World War I and they studied, they said, okay, the Germans came after the British. They came to get power because everybody had taken all the colonies. So they say, hey, you got to give us some colonies or we're going to take them. That's World War I. And World War II was a repeat of the same thing. So they said, you got two natural gangsters, Japan and Germany. And if you don't feed them and give them their own space, they're gonna get back sooner or later, and they'll be right back. And they are. They used to call the Japanese the white man of Asia, right? And the Germans, they are goose-stepping big old white folks. All they do is, you know, that's what they do. And throughout history, they've done that. It ain't nothing new. They just started last week. They've been doing that. And so you got to give them space or they're going to come looking for you soon, very soon. You know, so the same thing with the people down there. Give them a Marshall Plan. Help them. Keep them down there. If they don't want them up here, let them get whoever they want to elect, what system they want to get, right? What leader they want to get, and then send them some money, and they'll have all their little stores and shops down there, and they won't want to come up here, risking their life to come up here because they'll have it at home, right? Okay. It's greed. That's all. Let me speed up a little bit. Okay. I'm going to try to wrap this up. So, the system will have to assist in its own salvation. It will have to participate. You don't have that. I'm just reading from some notes up here. You know, all that fancy stuff, dream the impossible dream. I was looking at a little program the other day about this little white girl, Greta something or other from Sweden. Thornburg, yeah, okay. Believe it or not, we've always said for the last decades, right, that those would be our allies. So during this next season, those will be our allies. All of those people that have, even if the white man put her up to doing it, you know, it don't make no difference. You don't never know. Look, you have to give your all to everything, and let it start with 100. Let everybody have 100, and then start taking from that. But, you know, or it would be oversensitivity. Deserves sensitivity, though. We call it paranoia here. And the last page. Okay. Writing our own future. You could tell from how we reacted to certain things in the last few months that what we said before, that everybody's going to get, we're going to write everybody in. A good start. Don't make no difference what they do. That means Khadijah and what's her name? We're going to write them a good, yeah. They're going to get a good spot. Could you turn the heat up just a pinch? Everybody's going to get a good spot. Okay, now you can tell by the approach just from our nerve center here, just visualize this little center right here, 4481 and all of this, and here is the Brother Tufail Strategic Command Center. That means we're taking people from ourselves, right? We could call it the George Washington Command Center, but it wouldn't fit us, right? Right? No. That means that we hold our people. I'm telling you, it was really an experience because for the last 6-7 years, all the time I was in California, I would call Brother Tufail almost every night. And all this stuff that happened in Oakland, we discussed it in detail. When he passed away, that was a sign that we have to get busy on this stuff. And then the weather changed out in California. Like I say, a friend of mine called yesterday. I said, hey, how's the weather out there? He said, well, we're expecting rain in a few days. I said, is it smoky out there? No, the smoke's gone. It's windy. I said, good. I'm going to head back on out now. Not that I was waiting for the weather to change, but even birds got enough sense to fly south for the winter, wait, find out how the weather is, right? So no, but it's time. Everything that happened in California was for a specific, very good reason. And we use that to educate the people on their own possibilities. And it's as modern, it's up to date. It's Black Lives Matter, right? It's police, community, right? It's unbearable police, not brutality, but just breaking the law, making the law that they want to have to do that because that's what they want to do. And we got it all on paper. They can't change it. It's too late. You see what I mean? That was all for a reason, and it was all for this time. Because most people will say, we couldn't have stood that. We couldn't have dealt with it. But it was all for this time, and it was all for this period. The desire to want to do good is its own reward. What I mean to explain for that is the hadith that says, if you want to do good, your niyyah is to do good, you get one reward. If you do it, you get 2 or 200 or 2,000. You're right, unlimited. The desire to want to do good is its own reward. You know, like if you want to do good, you feel good about it. You just feel, hey. If you want to feed the people, you just feel good. You say, man, I'm a little tired, but it sure makes you feel good, right? It does. Just to want to do good. Oh.
It's like I was reading, feeling bad about something you've done is just like making tawbah, just feeling bad.
Just feeling bad, right? That's one of the warnings. How do you feel about that? Are you happy about it? And it was wrong? No, I ain't happy about that. Well, fine. You just about had now. You're almost home now. All the groups, all the organizations, whether it's MANA, whether it's Islamic Party, there's a few people that was in the Islamic Party that I think we should follow the same pattern we did with Brother Tufail. You could probably figure, right? They the last 20 years of their life, maybe even 30 years, have all been in settling the issues that have to do with the Islamic Party. Most of them are funerals and stuff like that, and settling property and all of those things. And they went into exile too, and so it's still some of the people in exile, some are back. Okay. There's few people I want to mention. It's not only the National Negro and others, but the system always put people out front that aren't worth a dime. Y'all probably wouldn't remember Rajneesh. Rajneesh he had 7 Rolls Royces. He wore a turban. Rajneesh, yeah, right back in the 80s, Rajneesh got all these white folks to do away with all their property. They moved up into Oregon or California somewhere. And then he just disappears with the money. No, all that. Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Murabit. You ever heard the name? Sheikh Abdul, that's right. He took a whole lot of white folks to Norwich in England. But not only that, the brothers that would come through from South Africa, they was all Murabitun, they was calling themselves, after the old time Murabitun. These guys take all the white folks up there to Norwich, England, and said, goodbye. He used to call himself Sheikh Abdul Qadir As-Sufi. Then he changed his name to Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Murabit. They produce these people, right, to break the hearts of innocent people. That's what they do. Innocent white folks, they sell everything and then they go off. Or the Negroes. There's Negroes that join groups here. They leave a newspaper down there, right? They go off in the country. You ain't gonna rescue nobody in the country, you know. And your kids are not gonna stay out there in the woods in Alabama and Mississippi too long, right? They're gonna be, hey man, we gotta get to the city, right? This is the point, that there's So many, we used to have a saying in the Jahiliyyah, too many ways to be a fool to duck 'em all. The white man got so many schemes to break people's heart so they won't follow leadership. So they say, oh, what's her name took everybody out in the woods and he left them. Oh, so-and-so took everybody out. Okay, here come you. You just innocent, nice as you can be. Well, dear believers, we're going to be a little tough road and, da-da-da-da. I ain't going to listen to no nigga because so-and-so just right. They always do that. And you look at the big mouth Negroes that's been talking for the last 50 or 60 years, they haven't busted a grape here in America. Not a single grape with spiked shoes on. They won't do it. They just been talking. That's their job. So this is where patience come in. Okay, Dr. Lane Center, as I want to do good, da-da-da-da-da. We said the cardinal action is leave, never do anything, or never fight any other people such as yourselves, especially Muslims, other blacks, or nothing. And we've had several incidents where people came around here trying to get us to do certain things. One of the last things I want to read is about one of our brothers to show you how rotten the FBI is. Information from confidential source, S2. This is from the paperwork that came from up in Detroit. S1 is a confidential source who has provided information about Luqman Abdullah and his associates. S1 is proven to be reliable and credible. Information provided by S2 has been independently corroborated by other sources and by consensual recordings he has made with the members of the Ummah at the direction of FBI. On December 12, 2007, S2 told me he had been with Luqman Abdullah outside the mosque on that date, and he was able to surreptitiously record the conversation. S2 told Abdullah he had asked to donate $5,000 to pay to have something done during the 2006 Super Bowl in Detroit. Abdullah said, this brother Luqman that they killed, I would not be involved in injuring innocent people for no reason. This is what the FBI, the report says this. They shot him, but they had this report that said, hey, I'm not going to do nothing to no innocent people. That's what it says. If there's something to be done, it's going to be legitimate. Abdullah acknowledged that he had been involved in weapons training even before it became a Muslim state. Look, the feds have all of this stuff. They shot him down. And old Frenchie, what was his name? The dog was not something. What was that dog's name? It was something like Frenchie, something like that, but it was Frankie or something. The dog was the hospital, took him on to the hospital, and they didn't do nothing with the brother. Just like leaving the brother down in Missouri, laying out there. His body ain't even covered for 4 hours in the sun. These people are ruthless. And they know. Okay, now, I'm telling you, we have cruised through all of this kind of stuff for decades. So what would get us through that? Allah. There ain't no other Negroes can pull that off. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you. That's all we know. And that's all that's ever happened. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have looked out for our situation all along. It has nothing to do with being super clever and able to, no, we already know that. Of course, we tell the white man and we make him mad. Strategic management under conditions of repression. This is a good article. You read it, right? This is a good article, boy. It's got a, and it makes them mad. Because can you imagine that this quality of stuff, imagine in the near future when we write the stuff for next year and in the future. It'll be of a higher quality. This stuff back in those days, hey man, we look forward to the writings and the updates for our job now. It's just an honor and a privilege to do it, and I don't want to take any more time. But we're going to head back to Oakland soon, and we're going to go through our regular, what we have to do. Education, training, all the new stuff, everything you know, yeah. We may even do some, wasn't somebody out at UDC, some legal team? We might discuss with some of them people, so we'll go and we'll know what we're gonna do legally. Of course, we got it all hooked up, but we're gonna do a lot of we're not gonna have no legal team or no big time rich lawyer. We're gonna do this, we're gonna be right there ourselves. Whoever gets with us, either we're gonna do it all ourselves. If we have to, don't make no difference what mistakes we make. We got enough stuff. You know what redundancy is? It means redundancy, that you got a system, a backup system, one after another. This redundancy that we've been doing is like 10 backup systems. You know the phone that I had that didn't have enough stuff on it? Well, we got all this stuff, you know, we write stuff, then we put it on other stuff, then we put it on other stuff, then we put it on there, then we put it, they can't do anything about it. It's everywhere. You see what I mean? Redundancy. They break in and they steal all the notebooks over here. So what? We already got them, already wrote all stuff on the back of papers everywhere. If they steal this, we got stuff over in this place with all this stuff here, that stuff there, old this, old that. They can't do anything about it. It's redundancy. Okay, so are there any questions or comments at all?
Brother did ask, I guess when you were bringing up, talking about leaders, kind of people breaking, or leaders that boss man puts out there to kind of break the hearts of innocent people. A brother asked, or he said, manna, with question marks afterwards. I don't know if you have any commentary on it.
Well, I won't comment on manna, but manna, I did comment on manna.
Yeah, you did.
Manna, Muslim Alliance of North America. It was interesting because everybody was in it and everybody got a chance to talk except me. And we had one of the manna meetings. Remember we had one of the meetings here and all the toilets was overflowing. Then we go down there and it's the bottle cap, not the bottle cap, but yeah, it's okay. It's like that all the time. We're moving out of the period of even discussing manna, the big groups and organizations. We're moving past that. Even some of the stuff that we're dealing with we'll have to deal with it because time, place, and circumstance. We'll have to explain to people something that happened. And we also have to educate the people on movement. You know what I mean? That's why we went through all of this. Okay, so it was a training and it was all of those things. And so all of us have to evolve to the level where we'll all have to be educators very soon. Everybody has to be educated, you know. I mean, very soon, because you have to remember things are moving pretty fast. And so we will have to, but to maybe just ridicule people for not having done anything or to mislead, technically that's everybody. I mean, if I'm incorrect, just say so. This misleading people, you know, and they don't seem to be worried about it. They're just rolling right along. So we're moving past that period of where we're going to spend a whole lot of time. We're going to, you know, when we talk about write your own future, there's an old saying, history is being read, but it's also being written. And I noticed that all of the motivation literature I listened to recently, they're all talking about write your own future, write your own da-da-da-da-da. But they don't have any ethics. They don't have any, nobody has evolved, right? Motiversity, nobody to moral ethics. It's discipline to be disciplined, to lift more weights, to shoot more holes in a target, stuff like that. But not to, you know what I mean? To be materially successful. I'm telling you, as a white man on the news the other day, he laid it out. I mean, everything that's happening in America. Then he said, now we're going to try to make 800 new millionaires. You ever see that? I didn't see that. But that's what I said, man. And he got the whole picture right. But he can't, you know, that's because they don't know anything else to do. No, they think what's, okay, you look at everybody though, everybody get caught in the same thing and it causes them so much trouble, like the Hollywood syndrome. If you get enough money, you know, first you're just unknown, nobody cares about you, then you get to be known. After you get to be known, you ride and run around with sunglasses on, hiding from everybody, right? You don't want to be known no more. You want to have a week to yourself, right? And money, when you first get money, money is, hey man, money ain't no such a line. But after a while, now what next? What else does it do? That's the people's problem. That's the people's problem. All the trillionaires and billionaires, what's the problem? All they know how to do, well, to get some more billions. They don't stop and say, well, let me see, if I give 5 million people $100,000, I'll still be the richest man in the world, right? And they won't do it. They won't do it. They just won't do it because to them it don't make sense. Okay, so remember the ethics and morals. Ethics, and that's the saving force. So are there any more questions or comments? Does anybody have any comment on anything that was said?
I start writing some of the questions that popped in my head down and stuff during the talks, but I feel like I had a question.
No, it's fine. But remember, uh, like now, we're moving into a time where we have to be able to share what we have in here. You know, it's just multiplying itself. Like, okay, we have to be able to share what we're getting here with other people, right? Because we're sitting right here, we can't do the whole show. We can only do a little, and we have to get more and more people involved. And not just involved, but understanding. They got people involved running around, jumping up and down, but they don't know what they write. They got people involved in the Democratic Party. They just run around Democrat and all they want to, and they ain't getting nowhere. So we have to, and it's not as lonely as it used to be. This is a good period. It's always been a good period. I'll try to close with this, but see, I know when I used to go, especially around the world a lot of times I would wish somebody would be there with me to see. You know, like I mentioned Machu Picchu, the great hidden lost city of the Incas. I mean, it's just something. And that you would be thinking, hey, I wish people could see that, you know, or somebody, you know, so you could share. But sometimes you have to take your, what you have, and you share it with the people. Sometimes they don't have to see it, you know. Victoria Falls, or the Nile River, or the pyramids. You're not going to get everybody over there to see the pyramids, you know. You know, just sit, hey man, if you're in Cairo riding down the Nile and you look over here, there's the pyramids right there. You know, okay, a lot of the people are not going to make it. Those great scenes, in other words, sometime you would love to share experiences with people, but if you share knowledge, that becomes an experience. Yeah, that really becomes an experience. And so, inshallah. Okay, if there's no more questions and no more comments, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Okay, is it off now?